Dear friends and fellow aviators, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to talk about 3 important things that you should know before considering flying as a career. I will also talk about the stages of how I became a pilot here in New Zealand and tell you a little bit about why I made this YouTube channel. So make sure to stay tuned.
Hawker 1 Santa Berkshire identified flying 9 aircraft. Dash 8 7000 clocking 9 aircraft.
Hi, here's the 3 things that you should know before considering flying as a career. Number 1, are you physically and mentally healthy? Christian, what do you mean? Well, you'd be surprised on how many people actually fail their medicals due to underlying illness. According to International Civil Aviation Organization, to become a professional pilot, an applicant must be in good health, and that includes good hearing, good vision, and good color perception. In addition, you'll now have early mornings and late nights due to the amount of study you're going to be doing, and there's going to be heaps of ups and downs along the way, but you must keep going no matter what, and soon enough you'll understand why I said this. Number 2, do you have the qualifications needed? In New Zealand, to join a flight school, you must have at least university entrance credits or NCEA Level 2, which includes mathematics, physics, or any sciences, but preferably physics and English. Now, I have to admit, you don't have to be really good in maths and or physics, and I sure as hell didn't like English back in high school, but you must have the fundamentals of these 3 subjects because this will help you later in your flight training. And again, I cannot stress this enough, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of study needed. So to put it into perspective, in New Zealand, to pass the private pilot license level, you must pass 7 different exams. Commercial pilot level requires you to pass 6 different exams, and instrument rating requires you to pass 3 different exams. Now that's a total of 16 different exams. And that, my friends and fellow aviators, was just the written exams, or meaning the theory exams. And to add into that, there's another test, and we call it practical flight test or check ride in some other countries. Now, check ride or flight test consists of 2 things. We've got the groundwork test and the actual flying test. Now with the groundwork, it's all about the technical knowledge of the student, like decoding weather, all that good stuff. Whereas the actual flying flight test is where when the flight examiner is sitting right next to you while you're flying the plane, and he's going to ask you questions and knowledge, and he's going to make you do all the maneuvers, critical tasks, all that good things, and while flying the plane. So imagine the amount of stress you're enduring during that time. So yeah, those are the 2 parts. Last but not the least, number 3, financial resources. Now, it is without a doubt that training to become a pilot is very, very expensive. Now, this is why at the beginning of this video, I told you, you must keep going no matter what during your training, because you're putting so much money in this career that you might as well do the hard work now and enjoy life later. Now, I can't give you the exact cost of my flight instructor course or training, but I did ask Google of how much does it cost to be a pilot here in New Zealand, and Google gave me an answer of, as of 2018, as a general guide, it can cost between 100,000 of up to 120,000 New Zealand dollars to complete commercial pilot license level. Now, that is just commercial pilot license only. It doesn't include any instrument ratings or any ratings at all, and it doesn't include the hours required to master a skill as well. So bear in mind, between 100,000 of up to 120,000 New Zealand dollars to complete commercial pilot license level. So with all the information we gathered up, let's make a conclusion. Is becoming a pilot hard? Yes. But are you passionately hungry, highly motivated in becoming a pilot? And if you answer yes to this question, then there's probably no such thing as hard in your vocabulary, as you're probably more than willing to go above and beyond and putting in the effort and hard work to become a professional pilot. To give you an example, I'm actually from Bacolod City, Philippines. I moved here in New Zealand a few years ago, and as you all know, English is not Philippines' main language. And so moving here was a bit of a struggle in terms of talking and understanding other people. Plus, you just gotta love the Kiwi accent. But man, at that time, everything made it even harder with a Kiwi accent. But did it stop me from pursuing my dreams and passion in aviation? No sir. And for those wondering how I became a pilot here in New Zealand, here's a story for you. About 5 years ago, I moved from the Philippines to New Zealand to join my family. At that time, I never really thought I'd actually make my dream become a reality. 3 years later, I have finally graduated in high school. Very determined and highly ambitious young Christian, I told myself I want to pursue my dream of becoming a pilot. And so the research began on how to become a pilot. I then made a conclusion that physically and mentally I was healthy. I also have the qualifications needed. But I don't have all the financial resources to become a pilot. But then I realized that if I really want it, I must do anything to get it. And so I worked at the supermarket for a year, and with the money I have, a loan and massive support from my family, especially from a family friend of ours, my journey in aviation would then start taking off down the runway. January 2020 is when I started my flight training. I was doing my PPL written exams and unfortunately lockdown happened. After the lockdown and a few months later, I sat my PPL flight test, and November 2020 is when I can finally call myself a private pilot license holder. And after that, it was just building hours really. Big cross countries, flew around New Zealand, north, south, east, west, you name it. And I'll be posting those cross countries soon enough so you could see what it's like to see New Zealand from above. And a few months later, after lots of training and flying around New Zealand, I sat my commercial pilot flight test. And I just got it last month. And here we are, still training, but this time to become a flight instructor. And for those who made it all the way here, thank you so much. I will now tell you why I made this YouTube channel. I will be talking about my aviation training here in New Zealand and a few technical stuff from here and there. And pretty much you joining me in my career in aviation here in New Zealand. I will also put a few story of me being in New Zealand, showing a few adventures and cross country that I've been doing the last few months. And yeah, because I think that would be a good idea to actually show you guys what it's like to see New Zealand from a different perspective. That's it for me today mga katropa. I hope you liked the video. Please consider liking and subscribing down below. Turn on the notification bell as well so you don't miss my next upcoming video, which is going to be flying hopefully. So, see ya!